Whether you happen to be a farming or a ganking jungler, you have dealt with lack of rotations, enemy jungler invades, you've dealt with mid laners roaming like this Akshan will in this game, and whether you are 3-camp ganking or 4 clearing, there is one enemy of all junglers. And to defeat it quickly and thus climb quickly, we need to look at how challenger junglers deal with these particular situations and how that always positions themselves to be able to win, and of course if they don't use it, to throw. And of course one of the best ways to track your progress is to use the Mobalytics GPI feature. Track how well you're farming, ganking, skirmishing, teamfighting, are you being aggressive or too passive, how is your vision control? Use it to isolate which facet you want to improve in the coming week, and along with their dedicated app that gives you all the in-game information you need to thrive, as well as a brand new updated Builds 2.0 feature to give you the most accurate data, along with tracking your versatility, your survivability, and of course your consistency, the most important thing about improvement. This will give you the best player profile overview that you can ask for. The Mobalytics companion app is the best way to take all the information in League of Legends, streamline it, and give you the best way to track your own progress through your player profile. Use the GPI and download the Mobalytics companion app today through the link in the description below. Now in the game I obviously have for you today, it is a challenger game to showcase to you as the Kha'Zix. What do you do when you're faced with negative lane prio? What do you do when things just don't work out the way your game plan might have wanted to? Likewise, if you're the Ekko, how do you capitalize on this map pressure and put yourself in a position to carry? Now I can categorically tell you that none of this will happen, and that is the whole point of this video. So, the Kha'Zix are starting on the blue, going down. We see a late ward by the Ahri showcasing the Ekko starting on Raptors solo. We also see the Akshan move down toward the Raptors because he has prio. This means everything is still going okay. We knock it off the mid prio, but we want to path down. Ekko's doing the same thing. The Kha'Zix of course sticks close to the wall and then goes to his red buff, skipping the Raptors to give any sort of concrete information away to the enemy team. The Ekko obviously also full clears a little bit faster, so that's something you have to factor in as well. Now this is where a lot of things begin to unravel and things go wrong. It's not always our fault, but you can always go back in time to see the impact. Now this isn't entirely our fault as Akshan's Q gives vision and the wave isn't crashing that badly, and we didn't use our bracketed pathing to avoid the vision. We walk straight, we get detected, and now the bottom lane, instead of having to use their 2 combined IQ points, can just basically go, oh look, I saw Kha'Zix, I'm going toward the river, which our Kha'Zix should see as well. I mentioned it a few videos ago talking about how to control tempo through your clear and adapting to these things, and it was a Vi who cut out the wolf camp to make sure she could counter gank a Hecarim. Likewise here, we're not exactly going to be counter ganking an Ekko, but we do want to create some sense of prio such that we take away his options on the bottom side. So fortunately, our bottom lane does the good things. Our Aphelios gets a kill, Xayah gets a kill, and then we go into the river thinking, hey, it's about time for Scuttle Crab, except it's 320. So the Kha'Zix skips his Raptors just so we can have clear tempo advantage over the Ekko to use it to gank the bottom lane, but the bottom lane did their own job. So now we can move on up and maybe ward or contest that Grump against the Ekko. Obviously, the Rakan will arrive first, and the Akshan has pressure in the mid lane. So much like my trip the other day where I went to get a milkshake and I was told, no, the milkshake machines don't work. I said, I want strawberry. They said, we don't have. I said, what about chocolate? They said, none of them work. I had to accept that and leave. There was no way I was getting a milkshake that day. Likewise, there was no way this Kha'Zix was getting a scuttle over here on this day. The problem is because of his lazy pathing on the mid lane, and then of course him showing on the ward that he should have seen in the first place, he has now given away his exact clear. We know he did not do those Raptors. And so the Ekko says, well, Aphelios is going back to base, Xayah is going back to base, the roaming supports are the only thing on the map, why don't I go ahead and try and steal those away? Which of course he does, as you can see, but unfortunately he dies. Unfortunately so does Kha'Zix, and unfortunately the Akshan has a great mechanic that revives his teammates. How fun and engaging. And now we're back to the milkshake. We have to accept that this is just a reality. Normally we'd be coming out of the base at the same damn time. We could both look to use the outside in roll to get that Scuttle Crab, but then assess, of course, the next options. Now, I know you're thinking about what's going to happen here, but remember, this is still a high elo game, but some people still have really heinous pathing. They're great mechanically, they're good at certain things, but their early game pathing, the thing I kind of focus on, they're not so great at. For example, he got detected already, now he respawns, he doesn't think about the outside in roll and going ahead to take that Scuttle Crab and then fall back to his camps. No, he says, I want to kill the Alawi, who is against a level 5 Malphite, who has no CC, and it's an Alawi. And in doing so, walks straight by the Ekko and basically doesn't even realize that the Ekko was right next to him. This is the weirdest auto pathing you will find in a challenger game. But the point more so is, even if you are the jungler who thinks your team are letting you down, like the Akshan now is going to invade with the Ekko onto our Grump, we can't do anything about this. It is our fault for showing not once, but twice, and now 3 times lazily, and in a way we could have avoided. We could have simply reversed from the Krugs back up to the Raptors and then gone to the other side scuttle and maybe even counter jungled those 355 Raptors that would respawn because the Ekko would be investing down on the bottom side. We would maximize our own experience, but we're worried about the Ekko ganking the bottom lane. You kind of understand why he did what he did, but in the end now, he has to accept that his Gromp is just gone. The Ekko made a play. He was obviously given the position of the Kha'Zix by the Kha'Zix himself. Akshan shows up to rotate. The worst thing you can do here is ping your RE to rotate. The worst thing you can do here is die. The best thing you can do is simply say, stay there, RE, stay mid lane, shove it, get some plates, deny some minions. I will give up the Gromp, I can take my wolves, and then I can make the next best play. In this case, RE uses that prio to go roam to the bottom side. This is perfect. So what we can do is hold, absorb, and now we can go down and we have our Raptors, we have our Krugs. Remember, yes, we can deal with this as a farming jungler, but also this is still a ganking jungler idea. You don't necessarily now go sit in the bush with 12 CS for the next 10 minutes. You still have to control your camps, you're still playing the jungle 1v1 mind games, the Batman vs Superman, and you still have to incorporate the lanes into your ideology, into how you want to affect results. And that is obviously going to be winning in jungle diff. And maybe this weekend my milkshake. Now interestingly, the Ekko obviously took the Gromp, fell back to his Raptors, didn't go up to the Krugs. Why? The same thing we spoke about in the Belveth video a few weeks ago. I need to cut out the Krug so that I can maintain mirror tempo versus Kha'Zix, who's going to be doing the same thing. I already denied him, now I need to make sure I shadow him. But the junglers both know that this is what they're going to be doing. Kha'Zix knows that the Ekko is going to be down here. The Ekko knows that Kha'Zix is going to be down here, and both of them are instigating the patience game. They are saying, right, I know you're here, where are you, you son of a bitch? When it's evident that the gank is not going to happen, very clearly you should stay longer, right? Or you should go back to base and then run for the dragon, right? No, mes petits chéris, no, we go to the top side. Why? Because we have an RNG scuttle, we have a herald that's going to be spawning, the Ekko has his red buff that's spawning too, we are sequencing top to bottom, both junglers equally. And when you're facing these sorts of things, right, we couldn't do the bottom scuttle, we got seen, we lost our Gromp, there's no gank we can go for the lanes, the Akshan threat, it just is too much. The offset pressure that we're creating is allowing the RE to rotate and make impact. Will your RE do this? Probably not. Doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter at all, because obviously we want to go ahead and do this herald. So we will take our blue, we know the Ekko is going to try and go for it, now we sit, we scout, and we exert patience. The Ekko is kind of forcing this a little bit. Now I don't necessarily mean in the case that he can't sneak it away, he can. The Aksha can run interference, the Ekko can pull it to the back of the pit, he can make sure it gets low, smite it and snag it, but he doesn't have smite. And the Kha'Zix shows up and he doesn't know if the Kha'Zix has smite, so now there's a threat of a loss of a 50-50. So the Akshan runs interference, but the RE has TP, so she can rotate very quickly. The Malphite also has absolutely nothing to lose, because he's pushed in, and people think, hey, Alawi has prio. No, Alawi would have to walk around the whole top side, move on down, and lose a lot of pressure and play pressure. The Malphite's being fisted anyway. He might as well just leave, he doesn't give a shit, he'll ult and get some kills. You also have to assess that your mid laner, despite trying to play around you, has not really gotten anything because the Kha'Zix has played this quite well, again, apart from his absolutely abysmal lazy pathing. And yes, he's lost out a bit in his sequencing, but if you're a ganking jungler, a fisting jungler, a skirmishing jungler, basically any jungler here, can we fight this 2v2 and leverage our 3v2 advantage? Yes. We do that, we push him off, we force the flashes, we get a free herald. The Ekko should not have done this without a smite. He could have very easily looked to do the whole red side quadrant. Could he have tried to help mid lane in any capacity? Could him and the Akshan basically say, look, Ari's fed, she's not looking to rotate, she's just gonna go bot lane. Can we then shove the Kha'Zix out of his blue side and maybe fall back to herald afterwards? All of these options are possibilities, but the Kha'Zix is playing a measured, relaxed game. We know the Ekko is going to try use his bottom lane prio and small lead to go ahead and take this dragon. However, the Akshan is mid lane, Ari is the fed one. Overall, I'm not actually a fan of this contest. I would prefer you accept this, control your red side, and look to float for the counter gank and herald usage around mid or bottom lane. However, if you can mechanically use your advantage, your mythic, to push off the mid laner and then collapse on the 3v2 that your bottom lane is stuck in, you should still be able to come out ahead with 3 kills for 1, which is what happens because we now use our mechanical ability, our gold advantage, and our mid lane prio to create this opportunity. In the worst case scenario, again, yes, you have to accept it, you have to leave, you can't do it, it is what it is. But as long as you say giving up a dragon for CS, for 12 CS of your red side quadrant, plus potentially even more plates somewhere else, you're equalizing it and maybe even coming out ahead. So it doesn't really matter that you're down 20 CS versus enemy jungler, because while you did the herald, he farmed, and now when he does a dragon, you farm. Or if you fight a skirmisher and you're fed, you do what the Kha'Zix did. But no, I can't fight the McDonald's for my milkshake. Now we have a bit of a switcheroo on the map because Ekko realizes, alright, look, this isn't exactly going according to plan for me, but we know we're doing okay. Instead of going top to bottom again, I'm going to swap and just go straight to the bottom lane before the Kha'Zix is able to reset and move on down himself. Kha'Zix also wants to use a Herald mid lane to really punch and snowball the Ahri, and himself gets seen on a ward. But we see the Ekko on our bottom lane, who just happened to be the wards for the blue team. And because we were positioned well, and again, I always say this, if you path well, if you make the best decision you can in the moment and adhere to good pathing practices, usually you will find yourself in the right place at the right time at some point, which in this case is, of course, more bottom lane kills. We then go to the mid lane to snowball the Ahri even more. We want to use this advantage. There will always be a way to make the game 2v8. There will always be a way to make it so that you can have someone to play around, especially in Diamond, especially in Platinum, but it can very much be true for Gold and low elo as well. You just have to try and see who's the strongest player on your team, who is someone you can snowball with Herald Blades. When they go bottom lane, even if you wanted your mid laner to come topside, if they go bottom lane and get fed, what can you do to further your cause as well, so together you're both strong? And obviously we always need to limit tests, and of course both junglers are doing solidly in terms of their gold amounts, obviously in different ways, and yeah, Kha'Zix loses this one. As always, if you know you're not going to win it, don't take the fight, don't die. The gray screen is not so good. If you know you can win it, go ahead, smash him in. And if you truly have no idea, I actually recommend taking the fight because you need to learn, you need to understand, you need the feel of what you can do at this particular stage with this itemization against that champion with that itemization. But as we would have noted, hey, Ekko had his reset button, and even though we used our ult, we still focused a bit on the crab. So everything's up now. Ekko shows bottom lane, hey, you don't have ult? I do, let's see you. Okay, well, you die. This part of the game, as we transition to the mid game, is where junglers get a bit clueless. You're seeing waiting around in brushes, looking to push the map because no one has taken a tier 1 yet. And when games are like this, there's no elevation of game state to start moving pieces around where the game can get messy and assassins like Kha'Zix can do what they do best. And that's why I love this play, because we're going to set ourselves up for the best way to carry right now. We go ahead, make a mechanical play, get another kill. We do our red, we do our Krugs. We remove the bottom quadrant from counter jungling position. Why? We know the Ekko's going to reset and go straight to the dragon. We also see the Tentacle Lady doing unnatural things to our rock. We also have our blue side quadrant, a top scuttle, as well as a herald. We can use that to really punch this game open in the other direction. So what I would like to see here, if possible, is, hey, can we kill the split pusher? If you know your champion, go ahead and do so, because obviously we can take the herald afterwards. However, if you feel like you really need the Ahri or your bottom lane, I don't mind just going ahead and taking our camps or taking the scuttle, doing the herald. But what I want to see afterwards is then counter jungling, because Ekko's spending a lot of time on the bottom side. I don't want you to go to the mid lane, drop the herald, get into a fight, and die. So even though this game was the Kha'Zix doing some good things, it's also the Kha'Zix doing some bad things. But you can see the good things are currently outweighing the bad things. Ahri is able to kill the Alawi, but that pressure means that the enemy team is going to have a Baron Prio. What you do in this situation when they have strong split pushes, the map feels like it's slowly getting away from you. You can still win the game very, very easily. All you got to do is ensure, one, you kill that split pusher. Do it ideally before Baron is taken, but hey, if they take a Baron, that's fine. We do now have numbers advantage plus the most fed members, the Kha'Zix and the Ahri. Kha'Zix sets up in a beautiful flanking position using a bit of the numbers advantage they have. Malphite ult, Xayah ult, it doesn't matter, Alawi shows up. Just reposition in and out using your E, using your R, using your flash, using your blue smite, using whatever you have in your kit with whatever champion you're playing. Whatever champion you are, just know, farming or ganking, fighter or Soraka, use your team fighting mechanics appropriately on the right targets, and in this moment here, that's when you lock down a W. Now you can sneak the dragon, now you can deal with a Xayah. It's pretty much an equal game now. You're just facing off the mid game, and how do I deal with the macro of a split push? How do I deal with the macro of the team fighting? How do I deal with the farming cadences? All of the mid to late game transition stuff you really have to understand to carry games ahead or behind are now possible. So in a way, yeah, we're in this game that's perfectly imperfect, which is why I chose it, because our mistakes led to us needing to correct it, which led to us needing to basically rely on certain plays being made on the map and what we could then do about it to maximize our own strengths. Fortunately, I've made a video talking about just that, because as much as this was a great example of acceptance and understanding exactly what to do in negative situations, to accept things, to play around them, to play the map as it is, not the way it should be, and also to show exactly what we can give away at a high level with lazy and bad pathing, it's also worth noting that this Kha'Zix's pathing did not improve for the rest of the game. He got picked off a few times, and the enemy team actually ended up swinging that victory. But if you're farming jungler in these situations, just saying, hey, take the Gromp, see you later, that's powerful. hey, you have the dragon here, I'm going to take your whole topside quadrant and maybe gank the topside. But it also showcases how we get in our own way so much and how we can cost our own games even if it doesn't appear that way in the moment. That's why I'm showing this to you. That's why I just updated the jungle improvement PDF on my website. That's why I made all the jungle courses for your MMR to tackle specific things that each MMR needs to become a total and complete jungler. Really unfortunate that that happened because he positioned himself so well after that dragon snag to be able to win the game. But if you want to see what he should have done to be able to win this game pretty easily, the video in the box right will tell you exactly how.